Hey guys, Pencil Prof here, and today we're going to tackle a very important component to putting an essay together, maybe more important for us as writers than even for our readers, and that is called the blueprint. This is an important component because for us as writers, once we've got our thesis statement, we need to make sure that we stay on track, that the rest of the essay actually keeps the promise that the thesis statement has made. So the blueprint then is typically 3 or 4. I wouldn't do more than that in a college or high school level essay. 3 or 4 blueprint points ought to be enough to fill out your average, 3 to 5 to 6 page essay. These blueprint points, these components within the blueprint, each one of them is a piece of evidence. So imagine yourself you're a lawyer, okay? You're in a courtroom and you've given your opening statement. Your client is innocent, you tell the jury. And I'm going to prove my client is innocent by looking at 3 specific pieces of evidence, and then you list what those 3 are. Same thing with your essay. All right? I'm going to prove that LeBron James is the better basketball player than Michael Jordan. I don't know if I would want to argue that or not, but that's what makes it a fun argument, right? So what are my, back to the blueprint, what are my key components? What are my pieces of evidence for this? Well, there's a lot of evidence that I might choose, but I'm going to have to pick, like I said, 3 or 4. So what I tell students to do is just make a list. List out 5, 6, 10, as many pieces of evidence as you think might work, or in fact, just as many pieces of evidence as you can think of at all. Don't worry about whether or not they're going to work. You can do that later. Just list them out. Well, he's scored more points in his career. Well, he had more assists in his career, and he hit more 3-pointers in his career, and he could play more than one position. He could guard one, various positions on the floor, whatever you might want to say in support of your argument, your thesis, that LeBron James is the superior basketball player to Michael Jordan. List them all out and then scrutinize each one and decide which of those, let's say come up with 8. Which of the 8 has the most potential to be kind of teased out? What if you say, well, he was a better defensive player than Michael Jordan? Ooh, interesting. Really? Because I don't know. MJ won Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, but if you look at the stats, anyway, you can start to make an argument. Well, LeBron could guard centers. LeBron could guard point guards. LeBron could guard forwards. So I'm for those of you who don't like sports, I apologize. I'm going way down in the sports road here. But your blueprint basically is the 3 or 4 strongest roads you can go down, strongest pieces of evidence you can bring in support of your thesis statement. So think through, make a list, and then don't just pick your favorite 3 or 4. Pick the 3 or 4 that you think you could go get the most evidence for. Whether or not it's an English paper or a history paper, you have this thesis statement and you need to support it, right? So these blueprint points should allow you some traction. So you should be able to go in and say, all right, I've got like 3 or 4 scenes that I could grab from this novel that would support my point. I've got this whole soliloquy that Hamlet delivers that's pretty solid evidence that he's not crazy. So I'm going to include that. So I'm going to put that under that particular thesis statement. Just make a list, file them down, and then pick, like I said, your 3 or 4 strongest ones, and that will become then the points that you'll argue throughout your essay. And if you do it right, each blueprint point is a paragraph, maybe more, could be a couple paragraphs depending on the structure you want to use, but each one becomes a part of the body of your essay. You hear that a lot. We got your introductory paragraph, your concluding paragraph, and you got all the stuff in the middle that's called the body of the paper. Well, what is it? It's the blueprint fleshed out. And if the blueprint is tied as it should be to the thesis statement, here's your thesis statement, what you're going to prove. Beneath that are your blueprint points, each one supporting the thesis statement. Now your paper starts to like stack up, right? Now it has structure. Now it's clean and concise, and it makes sense. It doesn't matter whether or not your teacher agrees with your thesis statement, or doesn't matter if your professor likes the point you're making. What matters is, are you defending the point you're making? And the blueprint lets you know before you even start writing that you're defending it, and that your thesis has support behind it. And if you're in the process of doing a thesis, or I'm sorry, if you're in the process of doing your blueprint, you find you just can't find that much evidence, what do you think that means? That's right. It means your thesis statement's not good enough. You go back and redo your thesis statement. Ultimately, you want a strong thesis statement that can be argued. And if it can be argued, that means there must be evidence. And that evidence is then fleshed out in the blueprint. So don't start writing your essay yet. You got your thesis statement and you got your blueprint. Then you're ready for the next step, which is actually fleshing it out. So we'll do that in another video. But until then, like I always say, don't fear the blinking cursor.